Last session was really cool because we obviously dove into the HubSpot hacks for the community. There were a lot of people that were using various different CRMs that could actually still join, Pipedrive, Salesforce. There was some of the content that we covered that was pretty generalized to both. But for this advanced HubSpot hacks webinar, it really is digging in specifically to HubSpot, Steve, I would say. That's probably a note to anyone who's on this webinar that isn't using HubSpot and isn't thinking of using HubSpot. You're probably going to find yourself a little bit confused or somewhat even bored here. I would probably go use your hour elsewise. But if you are a HubSpot user or you're thinking of jumping into HubSpot, you couldn't be in a better spot.
If we talk about some strategies today, we're like, whoa, that was advanced. Well, yeah, that's the point of it. If you want to go back and see like the foundational stuff that makes HubSpot sing, setting up deal stages, all of the most important parts to really then layer on the advanced stuff, then we can hook you up with the previous one as well. If you go to ybravo.com/HubSpot, you'll be able to see the recording. We've polished that one right up. So yeah, feel free to go back and check that one out as well.
Yeah, to kick us off, Steve, real quick, what are you loving about HubSpot at the moment?
I just love that it's crafted and it's scalable, right? Like the coolest part about HubSpot I find is that it's a scalable platform. That's done by intent, right? Like when we've got to know HubSpot at a head office level and learn about the philosophy, they have this saying, which is crafted, not cobbled, which means everything they do is quite deliberate and they're designing it specifically for scale up businesses. Companies that want to scale and grow with HubSpot. And so you can start off just with a real basic HubSpot CRM, got your deal stages, log your notes, make some calls out of a thing. You can run HubSpot in a really simple way, and that can serve you for ages, right? And then your business grows, and you're like, actually, you know what? I wouldn't mind a bit of marketing analytics and some data around this sort of stuff. And boom, you can scale that in as your business grows. And then once that's in place, you're like, you know what? I actually want to set up some automations, and this could actually help with my operations department and handovers and making sure that they can then take the deal and move it forward. And you can do that. And you're like, actually, this would be good for customer service. And then you can do that. And you're like, hang on a sec, I actually want to build some like on the CMS and the website platform and get some stuff around our web analytics. You can do that. It's all in one, but you don't have to just like buy all of it and then never use it. Like you can grow with HubSpot. So
grow with it. Yeah.
I
Well
think
said.
that's what I'm loving the most is as our company's growing and as we're getting more sophisticated and as we're adding team and we need more workflows and automation and it's all there. We just need to build on top of it.
Yes.
And to me, that's super satisfying, right? Because if you get the foundations right and then you're building on top of it, it's kind of like you're building the tower, right? You never have to really
Absolutely.
start again and go, okay, no longer serving us, throw it in the bin, let's find a new platform. That
Yeah.
doesn't happen with HubSpot.
The next step always seems to make sense.
Yeah.
The next thing that you'd evolve with it is there waiting for you. And it's just the most sensible thing that you would do on the next stage of your own business growth journey, that is.
Yeah,
That's
100%.
good.
What about you,
All
mate?
right.
What do you love about?
I'm loving at the moment how the next thing to learn is really obvious. And that's probably a well-timed point to make at the start of this webinar is we're going to get into some advanced stuff here. And this is great. For some of you, you'll be learning exactly what you need to be learning right now. For some of you, you might hear one or two of these concepts and go, wow, that's a bit further ahead than where we're currently at. But I'll tell you this, it's not near as far ahead of where you're currently at as you think it is. Turns out it'll actually only ever be 2 steps away probably from what you thought. You're actually not near as far behind as you thought. I remember when I was first starting my own business, Steve, back, ages and years ago, I had a website developer and he implemented like a website opt-in into my website. And I was like, you're saying me, like I'm going to have one of those email lists, like the famous marketers I know, I could have one of those. He's like, yep, you can have one of those. And I was blown away by it. 30 days later, I realized how simple that really was to do and how sort of fundamental and quite primary that was to running a business. I feel like it can be the same with HubSpot. You can hear about some of this stuff and go, wow, like that's full on or that's complicated or that's like further and advanced. But once someone teaches you and shows you, 30 days later, you look back and go, wow, it wasn't actually that over the top, was it? And we could actually have a HubSpot CRM set up like the pros do. This is pretty awesome. So that's what I'm learning. Loving the learning journey that goes with it is quite sensible and makes sense and is straightforward.
So good.
Yeah. So team, welcome to Advanced HubSpot Hacks for $10 to $50 million project sales teams. For those of you that joined us on the first one, thank you for coming to the second. We will be putting this up on a recording on the website as well to come. But ultimately, this is part 2 of 2. We had an idea to do a third. We might just sort of park it down the line. It's probably diminished returns at this stage. Steve, these first 2 webinars that we've run should really well comprehensively cover you guys. So welcome to the second. Next one is fire away with any questions. Please keep them coming in the chat. Set your chat to everyone so that everyone can see your questions and that the conversations can flow even a bit in the chat. The more we help each other out, the better. And the third is don't be a hoarder. We're all here to get better. Make sure you add your advice to the chat, ask your questions, answer questions when people come up. Any good tips that you've got, go for it, because the better we all get at HubSpot, the more we all win. So that's the overall approach that we'll take to the webinar. But we want to kick off here, team, with a few of the big problems that we're noticing. So this is in the assumption that you have watched the first webinar and you've got a good grip on the fundamentals of HubSpot overall, the most basic stuff. But the next problem that you'll tend to run into is that there is a lot in the HubSpot ecosystem. There is always more features being added. There are many different directions you can go. There's many different paths you can take. There's many different really ultimate CRMs that you can set up within the one HubSpot. And with that, what we like to say is the best part about HubSpot is that there are so many features to choose from. And the worst part about HubSpot can be there are so many features to choose from. And so a lot of today's webinar is going to be showing you some of those most potent HubSpot features that you can implement as a projects company specifically, because we are spending a lot of time, Steve, in projects companies all around the world, seeing how they're setting up their hubs. So we got a good understanding of where that's at.
Yeah, and specifically Sales Hub, right? Like that's obviously what we're focusing on, and many of you here are running sales teams, you're in sales, you're a sales leader, and you want to know how do we get the most out of running the deals that we've got and the pipelines that we've got. That's specifically what we're focusing on and what we specialize in. We do dabble in the marketing hub, but most of what we do is in the sales hub and just making that absolutely sweet. There's a gazillion providers out there that can help you with marketing hub. We found there's not too many that actually walk the walk and talk the talk specifically in Sales Hub. So that's where we play, just for those that are coming into it fresh going, are we covering all of these hubs? No, we're specifically talking about Sales Hub today.
Second big problem, team, is that once you realize that there are a ton of these options available on the table for you, the question of where do we even start and when are we even finished? When do we actually have our HubSpot CRM finally set up and ready to go can start to be a question. And it's at that stage that you start to realize that there is a way of setting things up. You can have a HubSpot CRM Sales Hub set up in a way that you'd look at it and tick a box and go, yep, well, I think we have that set up. I think that's pretty good. But there's a difference between having it set up, number one, and setting it up the right way, number two. Now, I've put down there the bottom part, Steve, which is that an everyday setup that's set up the wrong way is another stitch that needs to be undone. Steve, how many times have we been speaking with sales teams all around the world that have experienced this? They go, we got into setting up a CRM. It wasn't set up the right way from the get-go. But before we knew it, we were 7 or 8 years down the line. And then by the time it came to actually undoing it, or what will we say here, transferring to another CRM or coming over to HubSpot or whatever it may be, the stitches that we had to undo around our data was very, very painful. And we wished we just had it set up the right way from the start. And then the third big problem is this, team, is that once you know how to set things up the right way, you will still need your team to be motivated, educated, inspired, managed around actually using your HubSpot well. You can have the greatest HubSpot setup in the world. You can have all of the right functions, the right automations, the right pipeline deal stages, everything. You can have all that absolutely firing. But if your team aren't motivated to actually use it, then all of it's worth absolutely zero. Okay. So HubSpot's only as valuable as the information that goes into it. And so we're going to show you ideally how to set up your platform in a way that will have your team wanting to use it and motivated to use it overall. But let's dig in, Steve. Pretty keen. Anything else you want to add there? Are we good?
No, we'll just dive into this quote to get you going. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate, it's that we are powerful beyond measure. I think that can be a little bit of, linked to hesitation of diving into some of these more advanced features, is people get a little bit afraid because there's just so much in it, and it can be incredibly powerful that people are like, I don't even know where to start, so I'm just going to leave it. You know what I mean? But if you can start to tap into this, team, it will seriously save you ridiculous amounts of time, but it can give you huge insight that will help you close more and more deals, bigger deals, build better relationships with your client, drive pipeline. Keen to dive in.
Beautiful.
Step 1, Tas, sequences.
Beautiful, team. So our key here with sequences is that you can manually nurture your prospects with follow-up. That's the old school way of doing it. If we throw ourselves back into the 1990s, we would be a sales team that says, hey, we've got our prospects there. We need to make sure we're staying in touch with them. We need to make sure that we are staying top of mind. And due to that, and someone in the 90s might have written down on a piece of paper just with pen and paper and said, okay, call Johnny Wednesday, email Johnny Friday. And then they go in, they dial their phone or they send their email, whatever it may be. You guys get where I'm going with this. The old manual way of doing things, okay? Sequences are really cool because ultimately what we get to do is enroll our buyer in a sequence that tells us the exact approach that we need to take to keep them nurtured moving forward. Now, the coolest part about sequences is this. You could set up a sequence that is a nurture campaign fully done by email automatically. No problem at all. But the best part about sequences as well is that you can actually include actions and activities that aren't automated emails, but instead set a task for you to, for example, give them a call, or set a task to, for example, send a piece of lumpy mail. Okay. And the thing I love about sequences, Steve, is that as we get into workflows next, which is a form of sequence in a way, but we'll get to that shortly. The thing about sequences, Steve, is it allows us to almost take care of our buyer quite, how would we say this, quite uniquely. It treats them as though they're an individual themselves and actually says, you're an individual. I think that you will be perfect for this sequence. I'm going to enroll you, the individual, into it, as opposed to anyone who hits this stage of the deal stage pipeline is going to get all of this workflow and be enrolled in that sequence. It's like, nah. Just you, Steve. Just you go into this one individual sequence because I think this is perfect for you. I love that about sequences, how individualized you can become.
Yeah. And that's really the process is once you create these sequences is you can choose to enroll them from there. There's workflows we can automatically enroll people in sequences, but yeah, we find the best way to do sequences is to tailor them for particular parts of your pipeline or particular types of clients. So to get into sequences, you come to your tab over the side here, down to automations, and you'll see just here it says sequences. So if I click into sequences, you can see here, these are all the different sequences that we've created over time. Give, ask sequence. And then we've got, 3-part video series sequences. It gives you reply rates and meeting rates. So you can use this from a content point of view. And this is essentially a way that we've done a 4-part video series that we can enroll people in and then give them certain steps along the way. So you can see here, hey, contact Helen Keller once said there's only one thing worse than being blind. It's an education content piece. And then one business day after, it sends them the next video, which is part 2 of the video, and then part 3 of the video, and then part 4 of the video. And then it asks them, hey, do you want to book a meeting, right? And for us, we don't book in HubSpot. We book through Calendly, but you can do it straight through HubSpot as well. So that's one way of running sequences. It takes 4 days to complete. There's some unenroll inquiries. So if they have a reply to an email or book a meeting, it takes them out of that. But that's one way of doing it. It's very much a content-based sequence. But you can also create sequences that are more based on, say, prospecting and that it's call heavy. So this is really cool as well. Like HubSpot have actually created a lot of, pre-made sequences that you could start with. And these are the different options that you've got, right? You've got automated email. So, hey, I want you to send this type of email when it gets to this particular stage. And you can set that up to be fairly unique with like conditional formatting. So just like in a MailChimp or whatever, you can say, hey, contact first name. Really great to catch up with you the other day and discuss, BCOP notes or particular property that you've put into the HubSpot. Reason for the emails, I'd love to know, when would be a good time for us to reconnect on this. So you can use it as automated follow-up. That's one way. You can do it as a manual email task. So get a task reminder to send an email. Again, you can get it to pre-fill some information that you want. You can get it to set you a call task or a general task and also LinkedIn Sales Nav with InMail and connection requests if you want, right?
That's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah. So for example, I might want to have a re-engage cold prospect sequence. So it gives you a bit of a starting point. It even creates, a bit of a start for you. For example, hey, contact name, how's everything? Hope you and the team are doing well. Just want to check in with you regarding our previous conversations. Here to help, and I want to be sure to make sure your team is set up for success. Do you want to set up some more time to talk, update on where things are internally for you? Let me know. And then in one business day, this sequence is creating a call task, call, contact, and leave voicemail, right? And it pauses the sequence at that point until you have completed that task. And if you haven't downloaded the HubSpot app on your phone yet, do it because it's so good because it just has all of your tasks there ready to go. So if you're creating these sequences and you're like, what am I going to do today? Well, you just open up your phone. It's like, there you go. There's all your tasks for today. And one of them could be call Darcy and leave a voicemail if he doesn't answer. Once I've selected that as, yep, I've done, then in 2 business days, it sort of resends another email of going, hey, just checking in here, how things are going. Let's set up another meeting to keep things moving. Here's my calendar link. And then in 2 business days, it has another call task. And then a delay in email straight after that saying, Between persistence and annoyance, I fear I might cross the line. Based on your silence, I'm sure you're no longer interested in learning more about, and you could put a conditional property in there or a particular name. If I've misread you, please let me know. And then at that point, if there's still no engagement, delete the deal. You know what I mean? I would start by having a look at some of these pre-made templates and just go, okay, what could I edit? You don't have to run exactly those words. You can edit them, but it could give you a good start on, let's say you're an event heavy business. A lot of the time, people aren't doing a good job of nurturing people that they've met at events. You could enroll contacts in this sequence going, hey, let's make sure that we put some automated emails in here. Let's make sure we connect on LinkedIn. Let's make sure we do some more emails and calls. So sequences are a great place to start for that. You can also, again, make that from scratch. So, you can have a bit of fun with this. You can build a lot of different sequences. So that's where you go to actually do that. Don't know if I've missed anything there, Das.
No, you nailed it. The key to point on here, Steve, as we get to the next slide, will make sense as well. But the key here, team, is with sequences is, as we said, this is when you're taking an individual person and you're deciding to enroll them in a sequence. So you can literally click on their name, click on them as a contact in HubSpot, and click enroll in sequence. And then that's when the sequence will start running on that individual person, which in contrast is to hack 2 is what we call our workflows. So workflows, team, are similar to a sequence, but these will operate and kick off. The catalyst for kicking them off is actually when you move them into a particular deal stage of your pipeline. Okay, so you don't enroll people in a workflow. They automatically get enrolled in a workflow when they move into, for example, the nurture stage of your pipeline. Okay, so what we say is don't put a note in your diary to send that hot lead the email they need. Instead, create workflows for each of your deal stages. The whole idea being, great, once someone moves into nurture or once someone's reached verbal agreement, then we run this sequence for them overall, this workflow for them overall. I love this one, Steve, as workflows, largely because we work with clients all the time who say, it'd be great if once our buyer got to here, then we always remembered to do X. That's usually the statement that people make. It'd be awesome if once it got to here, we knew that all we needed to do was send them A, whatever it may be. Very powerful for that. And the thing with workflows, Steve, just quickly before you get into it, I want to sort of prime this in a way. The thing with workflows is the less complicated a lot of the time they are, the better.
Yeah.
When people think of workflows, often they think, okay, great. So it needs to be like 4, 5, 6, 7 steps to a workflow in a nurture sequence. It's like, nah, man, like literally like a workflow could be one or two steps. Yeah, it really doesn't need to be much, but just that nice little polish across each of your deal stages adds a ton of value along the way.
Absolutely. So, these are our
and a shout out to Ram Equipment for being our example deal here on screen all day.
They're a hot buy, so we're keen to get that one closed, and this will be a thing of the future. Did Ram ever buy? We'll see. If you know them, shout out. These are our deal stages, right? So website opt-in, KPI playbook, outbound blitz sign up, and opportunities identified out of those 2 stages. Scheduled discovery call, hot list, verbal agreement, sessions booked in, delivered, 3 to 6 month reconnect and close lost, right? So we could think about, okay, there's some particular parts of this pipeline where we're used to doing manual internal communication. Stuff falls through the cracks that we forget about. These are perfect places to start really basic workflows. So I find the easiest way to get into workflows is you go board options and then edit stages. You can just hit settings and get there, but this is the fastest way I find to get to it. And then come across here to where it says automate, okay? And these automations here is you can see here, create workflows from scratch. And these are the different deal stages that
I love the way this is laid out, Steve. This just makes it so visually easy to understand what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's so simple, right? So for example here, a website opt-in, KPI, playbook download. Okay, sweet. What do we want to do here? Well, Mitch on our team, shout out to Mitch. He's big on sending personalized videos and making introductions. So we've set up a task here for him automatically. So it shows up on his phone and his HubSpot. LinkedIn personalized video. It's a to-do type task, but it could be a call task or an email task, a sales navigator email, or a connection request, which you can also do. We want him to do this immediately. You can set an email reminder, but I've got here, send a personalized video to deal name, reach out with personalized email, explore meeting potential. And we're assigning this task to Mitch. So every time a deal comes in there, it's automated off our website. Boom. Mitch is going to get a task going, hey, reach out to this person, send them a personalized video. And so he can do that in real time. And for the client experience side of things, they're going, wow, I only just opted in. And now I've literally got not just an automated thing, I've got a real human being sending me a personalized video connection request going, hey, I saw you just downloaded the playbook. I'm Mitch here, part of the team. Thought I'd reach out any way I could support you in the meantime. Just let me know. We've got a bunch of other assets that would be up your alley as well. Just reach out anytime. Happy to help. The client experience is like, what? That's a human. That's really cool. But we've set up the automation to make that fast for Mitch. Another one could be for me is when a blitz signed up, outbound blitz, connect on LinkedIn with deal name. Again, this shows up on me. It's allocated to me. Connect on LinkedIn with the name. Hey, saw you just signed up to outbound blitz here to help you get your first game set up. Curious, how did you come across us? So you could even use this as a training implementation as well. You could put notes in there to go, hey, here's a good script to use at this point. Really, really simple. If you've ever been frustrated at booking a meeting and then the person never shows up, this is something that can happen to us from time to time. And we used to have to manually email Julia, our EA, going, hey, we've got a meeting coming up with such and such. Can you just confirm that it's all good? Now, when a deal reaches scheduled discovery call, confirm meeting time and attendance. Confirm contact will be available meeting during date and time. It's a high priority and it's selected to Julia. So now we don't have to worry about internal communication anymore. We can just run a really basic workflow in that regard. But you can also create a workflow from scratch. I'll show you what you can do here. So you can delay it. You can also branch it based on if you want it to run certain criteria based on certain things. Most of the time you're creating tasks or an internal email notification. So again, if you're used to manually sending an email to someone when a deal hits a certain deal stage, it could be a handover, a closed one deal. You could send an internal email notification to any or all of your team members saying, hey, congrats, such and such just closed. Project managers, let's talk about this deal on Monday during our Monday meeting. Done. It's automated now. You don't have to worry about it. So that's internal communications. You can create and update CRM records. So you could get it to create a record. You could copy a property value. You could create a task. You could rotate the record to a different owner or set a property value. Again, you can automate a lot of this stuff.
That's so underrated there, Steve. Things like that, like rotating the record to a different owner. So many teams here will have you'll have a BD team and then your sales team, and you might have one long pipeline. And so when it gets to the fourth stage of the pipeline, that's when the deal owner switches to your sales team.
Yep.
It's just, that just works a treat.
All the real simple type of stuff. Increase or decrease the value of a number property. You can start to play around with stuff. Now, if you do have Marketing Pro, you can also get added to a static list. And you can also, with communication, you can send an email to the client as well. So that's the cool part about Marketing Pro. Is if you do have Marketing Pro as a subscription as well, you can have it so that when it enters a certain deal stage, it automatically adds them to a list so that you can mass enroll, or you can do email marketing, or you could actually send a automated personalized email, if that makes sense. That's where you see it has that lock there. But a really good place to start, Das, is just tasks. Creating some automated tasks, some of these basic CRM updates whenever it enters a particular part of the deal, and maybe some internal email notifications when deals reach certain stages.
Beautiful. Love it. Team, our third one is deal properties. And this is for the people who are using HubSpot at the moment in probably the more basic of ways. Nothing wrong with that. That's just sort of where you're at in the CRM so far, but you're wanting to start to understand and qualify your deals in a much more effective way. So what we refer to here is deal properties. And these are for those people that get to the point where what they're doing is only leaving their deals as pretty much like the name, the value of the deal, and the product. So Steve Clayton, ABC123 product, $14,000, whatever it may be. And all I'm ever really doing is just moving Steve's deal along, knowing that that's the basics of what it is. There's no further qualification than that. There's no extra information on the deal that I can see just at a glance. I can't understand and read the deal just on my visual of a screen and go, yep, I understand what type of deal that is. We're really leaving a lot of qualification and vastly quick information on the table, right? So what we want to do, team, instead is we want to create custom deal properties that are available for every deal. And you can instantly understand a deal simply by just looking at it once or clicking into it and clearly seeing, according to all of these deal properties, I know what type of deal this exactly is. And Steve, this is a domain of yours. This is a mastery of yours, the way you create deal properties to understand deals. It's awesome to watch in action. So I'm looking forward to the screen share on this one. It's going to be good.
Yeah, we're going to dive into it. Before we do, just because we're going to about fall down another rabbit hole and don't want to miss this, we just got a question jump in here, Das. Where do you use a sequence over workflow? Is it just that you have to manually enroll into a sequence? Short answer, yes. Sequences is more of you're tailoring a particular client or contact into a particular sequence that you know will nurture it. A workflow means anytime a deal jumps into that stage, it automatically runs this flow, whether you say yes or no. Like it's just automatically running in the background no matter what. So think of sequences more as a marketing-led function, really, as a nurturing function. Think of workflows as a time-saving option more than anything else. How do I make efficiencies in this system so that I don't have to manually do tasks? It just automatically does a whole bunch of stuff for me. Hope that answers the question. Anything you want to add to that, Das, while I get this?
Yeah, Lawson, let's just say, for example, you sell mowers, my good man. You might have, say, ABC mower. And you've got Johnny comes up and he goes, this ABC mower, mate, I'm interested in this one. You know, I can't buy for 2 months, but yeah, I'd be interested in this. Well, if you're going to put him in a workflow, there shouldn't be really any part of your deal stages that says interested in ABC mowers. Like that should never be a deal stage in your pipeline. Instead, what you do is you enroll him into the ABC mower sequence, which then would keep him nurtured over the next, 1 to 2 months of automated emails going out or notes going out or whatever it may be. So you enroll him individually in that sequence and it'll make sure the nurture's taken care of for you. Trust that helps, mate. Marizan has said, workflows use marketing emails and replies on the marketing emails don't get logged onto the CRM automatically. Correct? The sales rep has to manually log to CRM from Outlook. Is there a workaround this? I am actually not sure on that, Steve.
Yeah, that's one I'm going to have to dive into a little bit further for you, Marizan. You mean sequences or workflows? Because sequences are more aligned with marketing emails and replies in the marketing emails don't get logged onto the CRM. Workflows.
Nice.
Yeah, let me look into that. Normally, I'm going to have to look into that one for you in terms of a workaround. Usually, you're right. There is a log to the CRM from Outlook in terms of the replies. But there could be a function in that. That's giving me some good homework. I'll check it out.
Marizan.
So a couple things on the custom property type. So obviously one thing that's really simple is to adjust your card view here. So one things that we like is to be able to tag our buyer with a little color code based on what type of buyer they are, hot buyer, educated buyer, shoppers, etc. But also we like to view number of sales activity, close dates, amounts, etc. Things like that. So you can go edit cards in here and you can start to explore that, but really that's for another
Just show everyone where you clicked just there then, Steve, just real quick. Yep. So board
options and edit cards.
Yep.
But we can also jump into here, and this is some of the most important setups that I like to have on the actual view, which is deal stage tracker, which is a new one they just recently launched, which kind of shows you time in each deal stage. And we've set it up so that it's always got the next step, the amount, the close date, and the last activity date in there. Another good one in here is activity totals. So emails, calls, meetings as we go. And then
where do we go, Steve, where do we go to have these, just so the people know at home? This is in customized record, is that right?
Customized record, and then you go into default view, and this gives you how your whole sort of layout is done. So these are the cards that we we're just talking about before, and then from the cards, we can add them to the default home. For us, it's more just the about us, and we use this middle section a lot. So as you can see here, you can drag and drop the order of them and how you want to make them run.
This is really cool, Steve. This is really creating how you want your CRM to look inside a deal.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it's what it's about.
Yeah. So some that are available immediately is deal stage tracker, activity totals. BCOP is a custom one that we've created, which is a property list of what we call backstory, challenge, outcome, process. And then deal score is also a new one that they've put on there recently. It might have been there for a while, but we found it recently. And you can show up to 4 featured properties and have that in the deal score. So to put that in there, you just hit add cards. And these are all the cards that you have available to put into that center. So you'll see here under data highlight cards, this is where you can put the deal score. and start to put that in. And really that's pulling in some key data and then scoring it based on time in deal stages, activities logged, all of that type of stuff. But then if you also go down to stage tracker cards, you've got stage tracker cards that you can put in there. And if it's not automatically in your list to start adding in terms of, deal stage tracker, for example, you hit create card. And then these are some of the ones that you would like to create. So there's the activity totals that I was just talking about just before, stage tracker, which we just had before. And then the other one that I put here was property list large, and show a list of up to 24 editable properties, I should say. So these are some of the things that I think are underrated that a lot of people overlook, is just adding in a few of these key bits so that whenever we enter into a deal now, if I go back to my deals, we've got full visibility now on those key parts. So like, how many activities have we actually completed? Have we done enough on them? What stage is it up to? We can easily change the stage here in the one spot. If your team are always struggling to put in details around next steps, you can easily grab these details and put in next steps, and it just automatically saves and updates. If Darcy needs to do follow-up call regarding text sent, right? And done. It's your next step's been updated. It's all there in real time. Oh, amount has changed. Boom. It's real easy to do. Hey, we haven't updated the close date in a while. Boom, it's there. And we can see that it was in discovery for 2 days and it's been in hot list for a month. And so you can start to make it really, really simple on the way through. So activity totals obviously are all there. And then this is a custom one that we've built around making sure
while you're on
everyone
that,
has
Steve, on the
visibility.
BCOP there, Rika's just said, can you just customize the BCOP section? Is it as a free text? So I think what he's asking is, can you create your own custom deal cards, as we have with BCOP, of course? I'm pretty sure that's what you're asking, Rick. Please let me know if not.
Yeah, this is just a free text multi-line property. So we can put anything in here. And then as soon as that's done, it's done. But it also puts it on the left-hand side here for us, which is pretty straightforward. And then this is some of the other drop downs that we have, which is the type of buyers. And that type of buyer then changes the tag that's on that front deal card. So there's so much you can do in this team. Again, we could talk about it all day, but if you haven't clicked into settings and come down into properties here in data management, obviously there's a gazillion properties that are normally in here. But then if you also hit click property, you can do so much stuff here, guys, right? So you can go deal. We want to put a custom deal information. We want to put a label of, do they like whiskey? This will help us know what lumpy mail to send. Next, what type of field type do we want? Well, we want a drop down select. The label is single malt, add an option. Australian
Japanese
whiskey, add an option. Japanese, hit create. What do we label it?
Do they?
I can't remember. I flew through that. But anyway, now that'll be actually added as a custom property. And we can even add that. Oh, here we go. Let's call it whiskey. Now we can actually use this as a property now, and we can even add that into the center stage or on the left-hand stage. There's so much that you can start thinking about as what are the key bits and pieces that you want to be doing over and over again, and how do we make it really simple? So let's say I wanted to add it in over on this side now. We can hit settings. We can add a card. Properties list. Choose a property. Whiskey. Right? And so now that's actually, we can put conditional formatting on that as well, right? But it shows you that HubSpot can be an open skin type setup. And if you just want to make it really uniform for people to have a drop-down menu that asks the question, do they like whiskey? Yes. What whiskey do they want? Boom. You've got so much then you can automate from there as well. So it's just about knowing where to play around and click with a few of these things. But I would start at a minimum adding deal stage tracker, activity totals, and deal scores into the main card here. It'll absolutely help you get a lot more visibility on these different bits and pieces. So
nice. Good one, Stevie boy. Love it.
Let's just make sure it's there. There we go. Type of whiskey. I reckon they're Japanese. Sweet. And so now that's there as a piece of information anyone can see. Hey, let's go send a bottle of whiskey to Ram. What do they like? Whiskey.
I
Japanese.
wonder, could you now my mind's going nuts. Could you have a workflow set up that once it reaches a particular stage of the deal, the workflow says send property is whiskey, and then it lets them know, lets Julia know exactly what type of whiskey to send?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
You could put a task and then pull that conditional property into
Yes.
a task saying, please send insert name property whiskey to contact name at address.
Your address. Yes.
And then bang, Julie would get an email or an internal email notification or a task saying, bang, it's all there.
Yes. A question for you, Steve, for the audience here. The cool part about this, like, as we said at the start, is the cool part about it is that you can do absolutely anything. The tough part about it sometimes is that you can do absolutely anything.
Yeah.
Where do you think you know when to stop? Like, because there's probably people on this webinar going right now going, I could do anything. So I don't even know what first step I would take. But when do you feel, and in your experience of working with HubSpot teams, when do you feel and when do you sense enough is enough? You've got a good level of automation. You've got what you need. You'll always be adding more, sure, down the line. But for your first initial bulk setup, what's that sort of tick box? What's our exit criteria on being complete for that first stage overall?
If you don't have a good answer to this one question, which is what's the purpose of this, it's probably overkill, right?
Nice.
So I might get all excited and go, look, Das, I can add in a custom whiskey property and like we can get the team to like press a drop down menu and they can do Australian whiskey. Isn't that cool? Like we can show it here. Isn't that amazing? And you go, yeah, Steve, I get that. That's really cool that you can do all of that. But like, what's the purpose of this? And if I don't have a good answer to that, it's probably just setting up formalities and complexities for no reason. It's not actually going to be useful. But if you can say, oh, okay, Steve, what's the purpose of this? Well, Julia keeps asking us every time we say, hey, send them a bottle. She always says to us, well, what bottle should I send them? This is a way that we can set up some automation now so that she automatically knows what to buy from Dan Murphy's to send them. It's going to save us heaps of time. Then you know it's true optimization, not just getting excited about functionality for functionality's sake.
Totally.
That's
Yes.
really the answer. It's like, will it get used and is it purposeful? That's the key.
Yeah.
And also thanks to Nathan for answering the question before. Workflows can enroll contacts into sequences as a deal owner, and both the outbound and reply emails are logged into HubSpot. So nice work. Good answer.
Nathan the King says, John. Yeah, love it. Our fourth one team, and I think that we actually started to actually touch on that, Steve. So we might not have too much to go in here. I think you've covered both. But the whole idea is don't manually remember, enter critical info in the notes of the deal. The perfect example of this, Steve, is those regular questions that you ask on every deal. So for us, it's BCOP, backstory, challenge, outcome, process. So we make sure that we enter that as a customized record on any deal overall. Other people may have a different discovery process or a different set of questions that they ask or whatever it may be. So that would be key. But do instead set up customized records to automatically include a section for them. And the best part about this, Steve, I find just overall is the purpose of it behind it is as salespeople, we're an interesting bunch. I feel like a lot of the time we do our best sales work when things are as simple as possible.
Yes.
And we don't need to think about too much, particularly when it comes to the CRM. And instead, we're free to just sell. Yes. I think 99% of people listening to this webinar would be right there going, yeah, the less I have to think and the more I can just get out there and just sell and just be in conversations and moving things along, the better I am at my job overall. And so having those customized records set up is just a really good prompt reminder of the notes you need to put into the deal moving forward.
Yes.
Rather than sitting there and recreating it yourself and thinking about how things went. You just answer a set of questions really more than anything else in some ways when you look at the customized records. Totally. Super handy.
Absolutely back that, mate. Like I'm a big fan of check boxes. I'm a big fan of drop down menus. I'm a big fan of, going back to the whiskey scenario before, like in our world, it could be, what CRM do they use, right? And we could have, instead of it just being a blank, you input the text in there of what CRM do they use, ? And we have to type in Salesforce, HubSpot, Zoho, Pipedrive, whatever it may be. We could select the drop-down menu where you just go, what CRM do they use? Click, save. And then that works really, really well. Now, going back to our first webinar, for those who haven't seen it, we're big on exit criteria, meaning certain information has to get entered into the deal before it moves from stage A to B. That can be one of those things, right? Like if a deal is getting dragged across and we go, hey, we need to know what CRM this client's using, that can pop up. And instead of it having to be a drop down and type, they just go click, save. Anytime you can make the data more efficient, do it. And that's where setting up custom properties can be really handy is drop downs, check boxes, select this one, move forward. Anytime you can remove the friction, it's absolutely going to help. And it's
Yeah.
all about getting quick visibility on it. And that's why we wanted to show you that edit card thing where you can drag that to the top. So anytime you click into a deal, you're seeing what you want to see, you know? And I think that's also a big part of setting up the system well. Beautiful.
Questions, team. Is there anything extra
Questions?
we can cover off for you? Anything that sort of brought on a light bulb for you there, or any intricacies you'd like us to dive into? Please feel free to put it in the chat. We'll make sure you're taken care of here. We've got 8 minutes left for any questions that need to get answered. Jordan has said, I have added the deal stage tracker just now, but it's only allowing me to see 4 stages of the pipeline instead of all 6 stages. How can I make it show all 6? That's from Jordan.
It should have all stages in there on the way through. It will only allow you to have 4 pieces of data here, which I think is what you might be referring to. So you can customize. For us, it's next step, amount, close date, and last activity date. Let's have a look here. Yeah, so it should have all of the deal stages across there. If not, do a cheeky old refresh just to make sure. But you can customize what 4 properties show up at the bottom. So for us, next step, amount, close date, and last activity date. But you could put whatever you like in there, including custom properties. So for example, we could, instead of last activity date, we could put whiskey on there. So it's always just got, you know, what whiskey they want to drink. So yeah, you should have all of the deal stages there. If not, I would recommend a refresh. But yeah, it should automatically just grab all of the deal stages along the top there.
Yeah,
and
no
then
reason
give
why
you
that
the
shouldn't be all 6 for sure for Jordan.
Yeah, it'll just allow you to do 4 along the bottom here. Hope that helps.
Nice team. Cool. Doesn't look like any other questions come through at this stage. Steve must have smashed out of the park, which is good.
Right.
So team, if you do have any extra questions around HubSpot and how you're setting it up, or there's been anything come up in this webinar, we feel like you need an extra hand, just email darcy@ybravo.com. That's DARCY@ybravo.com. We'll make sure you're taken care of. We are specialized into helping HubSpot companies in that 10 to 50 mil range of project sales teams. Really is a sweet spot because the way project sales teams specifically set up their CRM is quite unique. It's a unique form of selling. It's a unique way of moving deals through pipelines. So it does kind of take a bit of a special understanding of how that tends to flow. So got any extra questions or you need any extra help with your HubSpot, just say the word. We'll make sure you're taken care of.
Love it. And thanks for joining us, team, for another HubSpot Hacks webinar. Hope you got a lot of takeaways out of that, or at least a few light bulb moments to go and click around and explore. And that's the main thing I want to leave you with is don't be afraid of this sort of stuff. You really can't completely destroy it. You know, it's so easy just to click delete and start again. In terms of if you've added a custom property and it doesn't work so well, you can always go in and just delete it. It's not going to break. So have a bit of fun clicking around, learning some stuff, seeing what's possible. Anytime you see a little cog button, that's one of the most important tips I'd leave you with is anytime you see a cog button, like a settings cog, click on it. See what's on the other end of that. That's where most people learn some of these little hacks and these little tips. That's how I learned a lot of it, was just going around the platform and just clicking anywhere I could see a cog and going, I wonder what's behind that. I wonder what's behind that. You can go so far in the process without having to hit save. And in that whole process, you'll learn so much just by clicking around and finding what's there. So don't be afraid. If anything's lit you up today, just go check it out after this call. Go click on the button, see what you want to add, drag and rearrange a few things. Go and create your first custom property. Just test it out. You know, that's the best way to learn, is to get amongst it. So hope that's been helpful. Anything we can do to support, reach out. And thanks, Das. That was good fun.
Good stuff. Thanks, team. Enjoy your weekend ahead. Love your work.
Talk soon.